Good day, students. In this clip, we're going to be going over some more advanced problems on conic sections, focusing on circles. So let's write down the instruction for the two examples we're going to do. So we're to describe a given conic. Describe the given conic. Find all relevant components. Graph, label, and state the meaning of your result. And state the meaning of your results. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at question number one. Question number one, we have the conic with equation x squared plus y squared plus x minus y minus 7 over 2 equals 0. Okay. So for this one, we're going to first of all, we can write out the form that this conic is. This is a general form. And just by looking at this general form, we can tell what kind of conic it is, okay? So what kind of conic is this? We have two squares, a plus, and identical coefficients for the squares. So this is a 1 and this is a 1. So those three qualities basically identify this conic as a circle. Okay, so this is the equation of a circle. All right, so before we describe the conic, how about place this in standard form first, all right? So to do that, we're going to organize our variables and the constants. So we have to place the x's next to each other. So the x squared and the x will come next to each other. So we have x squared plus x, and then we'll place the y's next to each other. So y squared and y, and negative y placed next to each other, plus y squared minus y. And then since this is a constant, if you think about the standard form of equation of conics, the constant is always on the right, so we're going to add 7 over 2 to both sides. Okay, so this whole expression becomes set equal to positive 7 over 2. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to partition our variables into their respective worlds. We have the x world and the y world. So now we have two imperfect squares, and we have to complete the square. All right, so remember, in order to complete the square, all you do is you add, if you have it in the form ax squared plus bx, where a is 1, you're going to add b over 2 squared to both sides, and that's basically how you complete the square. All right, so let's start with the x world. So in the x world, this is a, the coefficient of a. The coefficient of x squared is a, which is 1, and b is the coefficient of x, which is 1. Okay, so b of x is basically 1. So what do we do with that? We'll divide it by 2, as indicated here, b over 2. So it's 1 over 2, and then we'll square it, and then your answer is going to be 1 over 4. So this number here, if I add it on here, we'll have a perfect square trinomial. All right, so let's introduce it. We're going to have x squared plus x plus 1 over 4, and we have a perfect square trinomial in the x world. Okay, now we're going to carry out the same procedure for the y world. The a for the y world is 1 also, and the b is negative 1. So what we need is the b of the y world is negative 1. So we divide it by 2, and then we'll square it. Okay, so when we square that, we'll get 1/4. So this number creates a perfect square trinomial here if we add it onto these two terms. So we have y squared minus y, and then we add 1 over 4. Okay. Now, since we introduced two new numbers to the left side of the equation to preserve equality, what we're going to do is we're also going to add 1 over 4 that we introduced to the x, and also another 1 over 4 for the y on the right side. Okay, now let's simplify the left side. We have a perfect square trinomial, so we're going to use the factoring trick. we just root the first term and the last term, and then you bring down the middle sign. Okay? So the square root of x squared is x. The sign here is plus. And then the square root of 1 over 4, you root the top, the square root of 1 is 1, and you root the bottom, the square root of 4 is 2. So you have x plus 1/2 quantity squared. Okay? Plus, same procedure here. You root the first and the last, and then you bring down the middle sign. Okay? So the square root of y squared is y, minus the square root of 1/4 is 1/2 quantity squared. All right, now let's simplify this side right here. So what we're going to do, in order to combine these fractions, we need the same denominator. So the LCD of 2 and 4 is 4. So I'll multiply 7 over 2 by 2 top and bottom. So they have identical denominators. So that gives us 14 over 4. Plus we can combine these two, which is 2 over 4. Okay? And that yields x plus 1/2 square plus y minus 1/2 square. 14 over 4 plus 2 over 4 is 16 over 4, and that can be reduced down into 4. All right, so the standard form for this equation is x plus 1/2 square plus y minus 1/2 square equals positive 4. Okay, so this is the standard form. All right, now let's go ahead and find the relevant components, and then we're going to generate the graph. Okay, so first of all, this conic section is a circle. If we're taking a look at the standard form, we have two squares of plus and identical denominators of the quantities, which is 1. The center, how do we find the center here? We take the opposite of the number next to each variable, and that indicates the coordinates. Okay, so next to x we have positive 1/2. The opposite of that is negative 1/2. Comma next to y we have negative 1/2. The opposite is 1/2. Okay, so there goes the center. And then the radius, we look at the constant on the right side of the equal sign, and we take the square root of that. Square root of 4 equals 2. So that basically means we're going to go 2 units to the right, 2 units to the left, 2 units up, and 2 units down. Okay, so there goes the radius. All right, now we have enough information to generate our graph. So let's graph the circle. So graph, if you notice, we have a negative x coordinate and a positive y coordinate. That means that our center is going to be shifted to the left and up, so it's going to be in quadrant 2. So we'll make quadrant 2 sufficiently large to accommodate for the shift. Okay. Now, sketch your coordinate system. Let's label our axis. This is the y-axis, and this is your x-axis. Now, since our coordinates are fractions, our center is a fraction, the denominators are both 2, so we're going to use the LCD to calibrate our coordinate system. So for the x, we're going to go by 2s, by halves. So 1/2, that's 1. And then another 1/2, and then that's 2. All right, and then for the y, we're going to also go by halves. So this is positive 1/2, and then that's 1. And then that's 3 over 2, and then that's 2. Okay? All right, so where is negative 1/2 and 1/2? So negative 1/2 and 1/2, this is negative 1/2 right here, and 1/2 is going to be right here. So there goes the center of your circle. Okay. Now we're going to go 2 units in all directions. Remember, each tick mark is a half, so 1 unit is 2 tick marks. Okay, so if we want to go 2 units up, we're going to use 4 boxes, right? So this is 1, 2, so that's 2 units north. South, we're going to go 1, 2. Okay, 2 boxes per unit. East and west, 1, 2. And then 1, 2. All right, so you got to be careful with your calibration and how you count. So that basically is the points that define my circle. So let's go ahead and graph the circle like that. Now let's label the circle. From the center to the extremity, that's your radius. There's our radius. And how long is our radius? Our radius is um, 2 units long, right? So radius is 2 units. And this is the center. This is the center right here. So what are the coordinates of the center? It's negative 1/2 and 1/2. Okay? All right, now, all right, so now we're gonna find the, state the meaning of our result, okay? So meaning, all right, so basically, this result means that the locus of points, 2 units, 2 units from this, from negative 1/2 and 1/2, which is the center, is the circle given by the equation, um, x squared plus y squared plus x minus y minus 7 over 2 equals 0. Okay? So there you have it. All right. Let's take a look at number 2. So number 2, we have the equation 4x squared plus 4y squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 0. All right, so what form is this? This is a general form of the equation of a conic. So so what conic section is this? If you notice, we have 2 squares, the variables 2 squares. We have a plus in between the squares, and the coefficients of the squares are identical. Hence, this is the equation of a circle. Okay? All right, so before we describe this conic, how about we transform this into the standard form, and then we will describe it, find the relevant components, and graph. All right, so to do that, first thing is to organize our variables. We're going to put the squares next to each other. So we have 4x squared plus 4x, and then the y is on its own, so we put it to the side here, plus 4y squared. And then the constant needs to be on the other side of the equation. So we add 3 to both sides, equals 3. Okay? All right. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to partition our variables into the respective worlds. So we have the x world and we have the y world. All right? So before we complete the square, we need to make sure we have the squares standing alone. We don't need to have coefficients in front of them. Okay, so this 4 needs to be factored out, and this 4 also needs to be factored out. So in the x world, we need to factor out this 4. So if I factor out the 4, I'll have x squared plus x. Okay, we factor out the 4. Now it's easy to just take the square root of this x squared right here. And then in this case, we write this as 4, take out the 4, and we're left in the parentheses with y squared. Okay? Okay, now we're going to complete the square. Now, a for the x world is going to be inside the parentheses. It's going to be a 1. And the b for the x world is also going to be inside the parentheses, which would be a 1 also. All right, so remember, to complete the square, you add b over 2 squared to the binomial of the form ax squared plus bx, where a is 1, and that will create a perfect square trinomial. In the x world, we have the b of the x is 1. So to create a perfect square trinomial inside this parenthesis, you divide it by 2, which is 1/2, and then you square it. Okay? So what is 1/2 square? If you square 1/2, you get 1/4. So this creates a perfect square trinomial inside here. So we're going to have 4 times x squared plus x plus 1/4. And then close that. And then plus 4. Now this is already a square, so we just simply express this as we can leave it as y minus, we can write this as y minus 0 quantity square because it's just a square standing alone. Okay? All right, equals. Now, we added 1/4 here, so what do we add on the right side to preserve equality? We added 1/4 inside the parentheses, but if you notice there is a 4 out here, so what we have to do is we need to multiply this 4 times this 1/4 to figure out what we actually added to the left side of the equation. So on the right side, we're going to add 4 multiplied by 1/4. Okay? That 1/4 that we introduced there was inside the parentheses, so we don't just add the fourth, we add 4 times 1/4. Okay? And on the y side, we didn't add anything, so we don't need to bother about that. All right, so let's go on to the next step. Bring down the 4. And then to factor this perfect square trinomial, the same procedure, you root the first and the last, and then you bring down the middle sign. Okay? All right, so the square root of x squared is x. The middle sign is plus. Square root of 1/4, you root the top, you get 1. You root 4, you get 2. So x plus 1/2 quantity squared plus. Bring down this 4, and this is already factored, y minus 0 quantity squared. And then 4 times 1/4, we can write this as a fraction. 4 goes here 1, 4 goes here 1, so we have 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay? Now, if you remember the standard form of the equation of a circle, you know you can have coefficients in front of the parentheses. So to address that, we notice that there are 2 4's here, so I need to divide every single term by the 4. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll divide. Use a different color. We divide this term by 4. Divide this by 4. Divide this by 4. Since we divided the left side by 4 to get rid of these 2 4's, we also have to divide the right side by 4. Okay? All right. Now, having done that, we're going to have x plus 1/2 quantity squared plus y minus 0 squared, because this 4 is divided out. 4 goes here 1, 4 goes here 1, 4 goes here 1, 4 goes here 1, equals 1. All right? So what do we have now? We have the standard form of the equation of a circle. Okay? All right, so now we can find the relevant components and then graph. So here, the conic description is a circle. We have 2 squares, a plus, and the denominators of these quantities are both 1. The center, you do the opposite of the numbers next to the variables, negative 1/2 and 0. And then the radius is going to be the square root of the constant to the right side of the equation, which is 1. So square root of 1 is 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 1 in all directions. Okay, 1 to the right, left, up, and down. Okay, now we have all the information we need. We can go ahead and graph this conic. So we're going to go 1/2 unit to the left. There's no shifts up or down, so we're going to be on the x-axis. So let's centralize our x-axis. Okay, so how are we going to calibrate our x-axis? Our coordinate system. This is my x and this is my y. Well, if you notice, we have a 2 here, so we can go by halves, all right? So we have 1/2, 1, so that's negative 1. And then this is 1, positive 1, and then this is negative 1. Okay, and that's positive 1/2 and negative 1/2. All right, let's grab the center. The center is negative 1/2, 0, so we're going to go negative 1/2, 0. So that goes the center right there. Okay, so what do we do now? We're going to go 1 unit in all directions. So 1 unit up, 2 tick marks. 1 unit down, 2 tick marks. 1 unit to the left, 1, 2. 1 unit to the right and 1 unit to the left, 1, 2. Okay, so these are the points that define the circle. So 1, 2. Got wrong. Okay, now let's connect the dots. And that will be the graph of our circle. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so that's the graph of the circle. Now we need to label the circle with the radius. That's the radius. We have to label it and state the length. So that's the radius. And how long is our radius? Our radius is 1 unit long. And the center, this is the center. The center is -1/2, 0. Okay? All right, so what's the meaning of all this? Let's state the meaning using the definition of a circle. Okay, so meaning, basically this means that the locus of points 1 unit from -1/2, 0, which is the center, is the circle given by the equation given by the equation 4x squared plus 4x plus 4y squared minus 3 equals 0. Okay? All right, so there you have it. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. You can feel free to subscribe to my channel by clicking here. Please post a comment to let me know what you think about this clip. More clips can be found on mathgoodserve.com. Thanks again and have a wonderful day.